Speed round now, but there's a lot about. All right, Annabelle Crabb, I think, trying to find some sort of passive-aggressive way of having a go at Peter Dutton, suggested that somehow he's losing advantage because he's more popular. But then there's a couple of other stories worth talking about, which are a little bit of a worry if you're this close to an election. In the Australian newspaper tonight, online, and in the paper tomorrow, there's a story about Liberal MPs who apparently have a problem with the small target approach. And then there's the even more damaging story, which is in the Sydney Morning Herald, where some people are now starting to leak what the internal documents are of either the talking points of MPs and potentially some of the decisions that are about to be made. So, Bronwyn, the one thing the Labor Party does, the closer they get to an election, is the tighter their mouths become about ever criticising anyone, even if they think the person who is leading the ship is exactly the wrong one. Liberals, not so much. What's going on here?
Well, I read both those articles. I thought the Annabelle Crabb article was a little bit like the curate's egg. A little bit in it was interesting, a little bit was bad. It did go on a bit, and on and on and on. With regard to the Sydney Morning Herald, that's a bitch piece.
Right.
And I think when the opposition leader is looking good, then you're going to find those stories, because those who want to cut him down, dare I say it, coming from the government, who might dress it up as looking like it's coming from the opposition.
Right.
Those tactics are used too. You'll see those sort of articles emanate. So I don't think it's a trend, but the tighter the race and the longer to go, the more of these little things are coming out, and they have to be battered back.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it ain't Kevin Rudd on the phone to Laurie Oakes. Oh, sorry, never proven, right? But we know that part of the effect of this stuff is so that whatever you were planning to talk about tomorrow, whatever heat you were trying to put on the person you're fighting against, a question will come from somewhere, which means you have to step away from the thing that you're trying to fight on. I think what was really interesting to note about that sort of Dutton-Trump stuff, and when he pivots pretty well whenever he's asked this question now into the greatest hits, and
well, he's got a simple answer, really.
Yeah, I'm not, and
I'm
John
the
Howard
bloke without the hair.
Yeah,
There's no similarity.
Yeah, there we go. But Stephen, as a person who would like the political advantage to fall the way of the government, this stuff is not good.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's probably been the toughest, I won't necessarily say the worst, but the toughest few weeks he's had for a long time. Some of the stories around his personal finances, the stories around trips to fundraisers have caught him, and he's looked a little bit flat-footed. I think the Western Australian election will have rattled him a little bit. Like the PM's been saying to anyone, we're holding up in WA. Dutton is not working as well in WA, and Libs have been saying no, it's not true, definitely not true. Well, the Western Australian election.
Though, with Western Australia, I thought any expectation for the Liberals to have done at a state level better than they did was really blowing into the wind.
No, look, it was their own spin.
The Libs thought they'd get 10, and 15 was a bit over the top, but they're not even close to 10. So what the results show is that Dutton is not taking as well in WA, and that Labor may win the 4 seats, may hold the 4 seats they won last time. Bullwinkle, no one's tried to claim on our side. So I think that would have rattled them a bit. And the small target, now, to be fair, there's a couple of other really prominent people who have been talking about the small target problem, and they're named Paul and Bronwyn.
Yeah.
We have had this discussion over a month or two now, that the strategy of being, I've been involved in small target strategies. This is a very small target strategy.
But the one thing that a delayed election does do is it gives him budget in reply.
Yes.
Now, unlike many opposition leaders, where normally that'll happen, whatever March, April, May, it sort of floats around and then an election's way off. There can be a scenario here where basically the following Monday an election could be called, or a week later, and Dutton, I don't think, has got enough credit for his budget in reply speeches, because they have been, general sort of overall statements, but that's where he dropped the foreign investor stuff. That's popular with 73% of people in marginal seats. So I think they've got a massive chance to put perhaps the biggest part of the stake on the table on that day. What do you reckon?
Well, I do too, and he used the budget and reply speech to drop the policy on nuclear energy.
Yes, correct.
And it has maintained its traction.
Yeah, good point.
And when you look, to be honest, the worst problem this country has at the moment is the cost of energy. We have an energy crisis because everything we do, whether it's buying a pencil and a paper for a kid at school, the fact that it has to be transported, that it has to be made, everything is dependent on the cost of energy. And not only are we absolutely defacing this beautiful continent of ours
That Matt Cain.
with the most
Matt Cain.
appalling-
Matt Cain, like you have.
I said he would cost the New South Wales Liberals government, and he did. And he'll end up costing you too, because he's just such a, I don't know, there's no words to describe how I feel about.
It's a good way to tap
what
the
he
brakes
said.
because I don't want to have the meeting with the lawyers either. All right, I do appreciate it. All right. Thank you very much, Bronwyn. Thank you very much, Stephen. A reminder.